Welcome to Life Planned Differently with Rick Dwyer from Argallus Financial Group. In this podcast, we'll help you connect your personal expectations to your financial realities. Join us for this journey where we take a holistic approach to financial planning as Rick Dwyer draws from years of experience and guest experts to teach you how to avoid costly mistakes in your financial planning.
Taxes are not just an April 15th kind of thing. They're year-round. Well, at least they should be. Welcome back to Life Planned Differently and your host, Rick Dwyer of Argallus Financial Group. I'm Patrice Sikora. Rick, you recently wrote a guide, The Tax-Free Master Plan. What prompted you to do that?
Well, Patrice, 2020 was a year of unimaginable change. From the way we had to change our workday, our interaction with family and friends, it's been a lot to handle. And today, many professionals and business owners are feeling uncertainty, pressure, anxiety, and stress both at home and at work. Planning for future retirement is a top priority for most professionals and business owners. However, it is hard to plan ahead when there are plenty of other financial concerns and distractions. While many professionals and business owners say they are on track with their financial planning, not all are confident or even ready for retirement. Long working hours coupled with the life adjustments they've had to make and managing other personal and family responsibilities, it can be easy for professionals and business owners to feel overwhelmed. The guide was developed to help people earning over $150,000 minimize the impact that taxes will have on their financial future.
Well, now, why did you choose $150,000?
That's a great question, but the answer is it's because people earning $150,000 or more are currently paying 70% of all the income taxes collected by the federal government. So here's an analogy. Let's say you came home from work one night and you realize that water is dripping from your ceiling. When would you call a plumber, Patrice, to get it fixed?
Well, as soon as possible.
Yeah, most likely right away, because the longer you wait, the bigger the problem gets, and thus the bigger the cost to fix the problem. Well, when it comes to your retirement, if you have a leaky pipe, that will create bigger issues for you down the road. In the guide, the leak I will be referring to is actually taxes on your retirement assets and your retirement income. I believe the U.S. economic system is under an enormous amount of stress, and it's only a matter of time before that pipe breaks. How bad it's going to break, who knows? But I believe that it's only a matter of time before the government will need to raise taxes. I'm introducing this guide as a way to start a conversation that there is a way under our current tax system to explore strategies that can save you money on taxes now and achieve tax-free retirement in the future. Listeners, I'd like them to ask themselves the following questions. Are you 100% confident you are going to have a great retirement, or do you have some doubt? How much predictable tax-free retirement income can your portfolio deliver right now? Do you think that you are paying more tax than you should be? What strategies have you implemented to create more tax-free income? Does your qualified plan allow you to take money out tax-free in retirement? And finally, would you like to be free of paying taxes on your retirement accounts after 5 years?
All right, now, who is this tax-free master plan working for?
Well, quite frankly, Patrice, it can work for anyone who believes tax rates will go up in the future. It's also good for investors that want to convert their 401ks and IRAs to a tax-free, low-risk solution with little to no out-of-pocket costs. Also, individuals who invested in annuities and want tax-free income, as well as business owners who want a corporate-sponsored tax-free income strategy that is tax neutral. Individuals that want to leave a generational legacy that is tax-free, and finally, investors who want to take less risk and feel more confident about their retirement. And finally, individuals that hate paying taxes.
Right. But aren't many people already working with tax professionals?
Patrice, that's the biggest challenge that I face and a lot of other professionals. It's because in general that they are already working with someone that they believe that individual knows everything they need to know and has done everything, and everything that they expect to be covered is already being taken care of. For example, Many professionals and business owners believe that their CPA is providing tax planning when they get their taxes done, when in reality, they are getting tax history recorded. When I initially approach them, whether it's an individual or a business owner, and I ask them about tax planning, they say, "Oh, you know what, Rick, my CPA does that, and I don't need to worry about it." Well, most of them aren't doing that. Let me ask you a question, Patrice. What was the last great tax strategy that your CPA, your attorney, or your advisor suggested to you in the last 6 months?
Um, Nothing?
Yeah, so in almost all the cases, that's the same answer. They haven't given me any great strategies. So why is that? Because in the tax world, a lot of CPAs are quite frankly overworked. They're working really long hours to get all these returns done, and they just make sure that the information that you give them is put in the right form, in the right box, and then submitted to the IRS in a timely fashion. Quite frankly, the most advice you might get is make a contribution to your IRA or to your 401k. So, but if I change that question around just a little bit, and instead I ask professionals and owners, business owners, are you paying more than you need to the IRS? Well, guess what? Most of them say yes.
Hmm.
So then I say, do you want to keep doing that? Or would you rather keep that money to yourself? Well, guess what the answer is?
Let me guess.
Yeah, they want to keep the money. So I get a totally different answer just by the way I asked the question. And having a plan that protects your assets, accelerates your retirement funds, saves you money on taxes, and significantly boosts your savings will be the key towards having the financial freedom that they will deserve and dream of for retirement.
All right. You say in the guide there are four key tax related issues to be concerned with. What are they? Start with number one.
So, obviously, number one is the topic of today's podcast, and it's taxes. And the question people need to ask is, will they be lower or higher in the future? And when I ask that question, most people say higher, and some people actually say the same. Rarely do I ever hear anybody say lower.
Hmm.
But what I'd like people to think about are these numbers. From 2021 to 2025, that's 4 years from today, our US debt will go from 27 trillion to over 49 trillion. Our unfunded liabilities will go from 158 trillion to over 205 trillion. And our M2 money supply, that's the amount of money that's in the system, will go from 19 trillion to 47 trillion dollars. Those are some very big shifts of money coming into the system, as well as the amount of debt being incurred by the government. But here's the really shocking thing is when you hear a trillion, you know it's a big number, but a lot of people have a hard time fathoming how big it really is. So I'm going to give you a really quick way of putting it in perspective. And I do this a lot at seminars and webinars. So here's the question. How big is $1 trillion? So here's what I want our listeners to think about. How long would it take you to spend $1 million if you spent $1 every second of every minute of every hour of every day? And the answer is 11.7 days. Now,
Okay.
some people will guess much longer than that. I've never had anybody guess less than that. So that's to spend a million, 11.7 days. So now I want the listeners to think, how long will it take to spend $1 trillion at $1 per second, per minute, per hour, every day until you spent $1 million? So listeners, have a number in your head because here's the answer. It is 31,200 years.
What?
That's a massively different number from 11.7 days for a million. And by the way, a billion is 31.2 years. So these are similar sounding numbers when you say billion, trillion, million, but they are vastly different. And when you think about the amount of debt that our government has on its books and what's happening, even now, we just recently had a change of administrations and we're talking about not only more stimulus, but more projects that put people to work. Well, that's a lot of money. And that money is going to eventually have to be paid back. So, number two, why 401ks and IRAs may no longer make sense. So there was an article written on Bloomberg.com. And in the article, the material discussed was why 401k plans no longer make much sense for savers. And here's some of the reasons why. Because the tax advantages of the 401k depends on a lot of factors, primarily four, all of which have changed dramatically since 1980 to the detriment of 401k holders. So, as an example, for a median income married couple with two children, the marginal federal income tax rate was 43% in 1980. Today, it's around 12%. Big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Capital gains rate was 28% in 1980. Today, it can be zero, but it actually can range from 15 to 20% for high wage earners.
Okay.
Number three, the likely retirement tax bracket was 15% in 1980. It's likely to be 12% today. And finally, interest rates in 1980 were around 15% compared to almost zero today.
And that is
Now,
huge.
it is huge. So people aren't making any money on their interest. So that's number one. Number two, tax rates were significantly higher. Capital gains rate were significantly higher, and your expected retirement tax bracket was higher. Now, all of this is based on our tax rates today. So in the future, they're expected to go up. But for right now, the government has offered huge tax savings to encourage retirement savings, while today it offers little to no benefit. In other words, you're not getting as much bang for the buck. And in some cases, you're better off not putting any money in a retirement account, depending upon what your current tax bracket is. And the employer contribution, though, is still very valuable, but this has nothing to do with the 401k structure itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been slowly raising the temperature on 401k for over 40 years, and we are nearing a point that they no longer make sense for most workers.
Well, what can someone do who is contributing to a 401k then?
Well, Patrice, there are strategies to help build more wealth other than the traditional tax deferred accounts that we've been talking about and most people are accustomed to. We can show you ways to build wealth while getting the free money from your 401k, but still getting tax free money as well. Not knowing how to legally shield your retirement from the IRS is also one of the things that people want to learn how to do, and we can show them that as well.
All right. What is the biggest expense people are going to pay over their lifetime?
Yeah, so this is a great question, especially when I'm doing a seminar and I get all sorts of answers. It's my mortgage, health insurance, credit card debt. Well, nope, that's not the answer. Many professionals and business owners that I have talked to max fund their 401ks, their profit sharing plans, their IRAs through the advice of their CPA or tax preparer, but often wonder if there's more that they could or should be doing. While traditional 401ks and IRAs are popular places to save money for the future, they certainly have a few glaring issues. These tax deferred investments are not as safe nor as good a deal as you were probably led to believe. I think it's important, Patrice, to emphasize
Mhm.
this point. Taxes will erode your wealth faster than almost anything else. If you're in the 25 to 35% tax bracket, you take 100,000 from your 401k account, you're immediately going to see 25 to $35,000 whoosh disappear instantaneously, all because you thought you were doing the right thing by saving for retirement. Now imagine this. Taxes get raised. That's an immediate impact on your deferred savings that you did for retirement, whether it's an IRA, 401k. So if taxes went up 10%, now you're 35,000 to 45,000 whoosh, gone out of your account. What does that mean? You now have to pull out even more money just to maintain the same lifestyle just due to an increase in taxes. Now, if you're one of those people that think taxes aren't going to change or will actually go down in the future, well, you know what? You should just probably keep doing what you're doing. But if you're like most people who think the government can't just keep doing what it's doing, then, taking a strategy and putting one in place to offset an eventual increase in taxes probably makes sense. The reality, Patrice, is that due to the US government's rampant spending and failure to fund programs such as Social Security and Medicare properly, maintaining the country's solvency will require some very steep increase in taxes. Or the other way to do it is by making some very steep cuts. Well, I think we can all agree that Washington doesn't have the fortitude to be able to cut anything, let alone cut 60% of the existing budget. And that's what's going to be required, according to David Walker, who was the former Comptroller General of the U.S., effectively the accountant for the U.S. He said the government either has to double taxes or cut spending 60%. I don't think that's going to happen, at least not from cutting on spending. And this was the situation before COVID-19, that pandemic and the billions in additional stimulus packages. So as we are forced to confront this reality, the question you must ask is how deeply future tax rates might cut into your hard-earned savings that you haven't even considered.
What is the alternative then if people want to grow their money?
Well, Patrice, they need to fortify their wealth from economic and market downturns. And to fortify something means to protect against assault or attack, to secure, to place a defensive barrier, or work in order to protect it. Multi-billionaire and famous investor Warren Buffett is a pretty smart investor, pretty savvy guy. I think most people would agree with that.
Oh, yes.
In fact, he's so smart, he's been able to boil down his investing principles to just two rules. Rule number one, never lose money. And guess what? Rule number two, never forget rule number one. So not losing money apparently is a big deal to Warren. Well, today, the market, quite frankly, is all over the place. I mean, in the last 21 years, we've seen two drops of close to 50% and almost to 60%. And then just recently, just due to the pandemic, which came out of left field, no one even saw it coming towards the end of the year before, 2019. But in 2020, we came to learn that something that impacted a country on the other side of the planet could actually impact the entire world. And so today, not only is the market all over the place, it's become more volatile, and more trading is being automated based on algorithms and large block trading. Quite frankly, it's enough to give you an ulcer. So what if it just didn't have to be that way? What if you could capture most of the upside to a stock market and the economic growth that goes with it while fortifying against the downturns, so you weren't impacted by the downturns? Would that be something you think most people would like, Patrice?
Hello, my hand is up. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so you gain when things are good and you protect yourself with a defensive barrier when things go bad. This strategy is one of the biggest secrets wealthy professionals and business owners have been using to stay wealthy.
Rick, then can you summarize the differences that separate the tax-free master plan and other programs?
Sure. Well, Patrice, I think it's effectively asking, how is our plan different from others? So let me kind of summarize that for you. I think number one, we are able to show people how to get much more tax-free income. We can go over IRA conversion strategies. We can eliminate taxes on your IRA without paying the conversion taxes out of your pocket. We can show employer-sponsored tax-free strategies, provide tax-deductible solutions that are really tax neutral for the business owners and individuals within their companies. We can show people how they can do a salary leverage tax-free income plan, which is to provide a tax-free benefit program that retains and rewards employees with little to no cost to the company or individual. We can show people how highly appreciated asset sales or collateral programs for business owners who want to sell their business and significantly pay less taxes. This program provides control, flexibility, and tax-free benefits for the business owner. We can combine best-of-breed products with optimized designs to deliver superior plans to off-the-shelf market solutions that are what most advisors are giving there. They just take the latest product off the shelf. We can offer strategies that provide market-like returns with over 90% downside protection, and in some cases, 100% downside protection. We can provide solutions that can generate significant tax savings well over most existing plans. And finally, we can provide solutions that can provide more wealth for surviving spouses and family members.
Rick, you've got so many actionable items right in here for everyone. How can listeners reach you if they want to know more or if they have additional questions?
Well, I'd be happy to offer out our free guide. So if people would like to get a copy of our guide, They can call our office. The phone number is 904-800-7299. Once again, 904-800-7299. And we'd be happy to get them a copy of our free guide, the Tax-Free Master Plan.
Again, so much actionable information here, Rick. Thank you. Rick Dwyer of Argallus Financial Group. Make sure you subscribe to Rick's podcast, Life Plan Differently, so you know when the latest episode is ready. And share this information with colleagues and friends. They'll appreciate it. I'm Patrice Sikora, and let's talk again later.
Thank you for listening to the Life Plan Differently podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Argallus Financial Group, Inc. or Capital Management Services, Inc. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.